Hi, I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
We're the insiders. So Scott, we just had the big election. You know, the mayor turns over in Milwaukee about every generation or so, and looks like this is the time. And there's a big chance there may be an African-American mayor in Milwaukee for the first time. But what did you think of the primary, and what does it set up for the general election? Obviously, Donovan and Chev came through. What's your analysis of why those two came through, and then what's going to happen going forward?
Well, in our analysis beforehand, I made two observations. One was that I thought Bob Donovan stood a good chance of making it into the finals because he had a conservative base, and there were 7 other candidates who were splitting up the Democratic vote. That is what happened. Bob Donovan made it into the general election. The other prediction, though, or analysis I provided was that I was worried that there were so many African-American candidates with good credentials in the race that it was entirely possible that an African-American candidate might not make the general election. That didn't turn out to be true. And it didn't turn out to be true for 2 reasons, I think. One was that Mayor Chevy Johnson was able to essentially rebuild the Barrett, or repeat the Barrett coalition of well-off whites in the city and the business community, combined with serious inroads into the African-American community. His votes look very much like the votes that Mayor Barrett had gotten in the past. In fact, Chevy Johnson won and came in first, I believe, in almost all of the overwhelmingly white wards in the city. So he was able to essentially recreate the Barrett coalition that has elected him for years. The other thing he was able to do was, quote, all the dark money, which Democrats, of course, hate, but are happy to accept, went in on his behalf. And there was a great deal of money that was spent to promote him. I think Chevy Johnson is very likely to be the first African-American elected as mayor of the city of Milwaukee. The only way in which that wouldn't be true is if Bob Donovan was suddenly to kind of get the support and the financial support that Chevy Johnson had. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Well, let's deal with the general election first, because I think it's the easiest. It's going to be a slam dunk for Chev Johnson, and I just don't see Bob Donovan going anywhere. He did get basically the residual Republican vote in Milwaukee, city of Milwaukee, and a few other conservatives, and that's what he's going to get in the general. In fact, I think there's a chance he would do even worse than he did against Barrett, and I think that was like 70-30. So Donovan is really not going anywhere. So really the election is over. Why did it happen? One thing that I've heard since we last talked about this prior to the primary is that the mayor, once he took over, really became seen as the mayor, and he got all the advantages of the incumbency without any of the negatives. Nobody was able to tag him with rising crime or, well, we've got economic problems, because he wasn't the mayor, but he is the mayor. So he got all the benefit and none of the detriment. He also had substantial financial help from the outside, Ably, et cetera. That makes a huge difference. And I think, frankly, at the end of the day, you saw a couple of other phenomena going on here. One, Lena Taylor has a base. She came in third by a very narrow margin, but she came in third, and that's because she has an enduring base. Maybe not big enough for a general, but
no resources, but she has a base. She
has a base. But the other thing is, I think you also saw, the reason I think that Marina Dmitrievich didn't do better is, unfortunately, she has a name like mine that's not easy to pronounce or understand for the last name. But I think a lot of it has to do with, if she had had enough resources, I think she could have done a lot more to advance her name recognition and also who she is and her persona. And I think that would have really helped. And I think she would have been the other person, kind of referring to your, maybe we get 2 white people coming through the election because of the split of the African-American base. However, I think that was not there. And also what happened was the mayor, because he's the mayor and because of the money he had available, really glommed onto all those votes. The votes that were available could have gone to Marina had she had the resources to be able to go out and make the case. But just, even though she did a good job of fundraising, did not do quite enough. So for the next generation, Chev Johnson is going to be your mayor in Milwaukee. That's the way it looks.
Well, and he's a young guy, so it might be even longer than that. Milwaukee has a history of that. I think you're right that Marina was the underperformer of the night, no doubt. And I think you're absolutely right that Chevy Johnson did a great job taking advantage of incumbency. He was on television with press conferences and events day after day after day. That's all free television. And then he was the only one who could really afford to have a lot of television that he paid for. So I think that sort of shaped the race in the end. And we'll see if the general election overturns it, but I doubt it highly.
Yeah, I think we know who the mayor in Milwaukee is going to be. We'll see you next time, folks.